My name is Chris Johnston. I'm the brand manager at Crystal Dynamics.
My name is Chabtini. I'm the senior producer at Eidos Montreal.
My name is Daryl Purdy. I'm the performance director at Eidos Montreal.
Where did you take the inspiration to take a Mayan apocalypse as the main topic to the game?
Yeah, it's just one of those like things that we always look at different kind of stories to tell with Lara. We always like to play with fact-based fiction in our storylines. We always look at how we can combine different kind of myths together and kind of this what-if situations if these two situations were combined. And just in my apocalypse, it's just this grand scale event, and it's such a deep mythology for Lara to explore and allow for us to tell much deeper storytelling.
Okay, so how the Mayan environment affect the gameplay?
How do
the Mayan environment affect the gameplay?
Well, probably one of the biggest things is the jungle. The combat is completely affected by the jungle, right? What's great is Lara is kind of at her most capable in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and so she's less kind of the survivor that's on her heels trying to fend off her enemy. She's actually up much more on the attack, and she uses elements of the jungle to kind of instill fear in her enemies or to remain in stealth. Like our stealth gameplay loop is a lot different now because in previous games you once you engaged in combat you weren't able to go back into stealth, whereas now with all these tools in the jungle, Lara's able to kind of like, if she's overwhelmed, the player can run or escape and go back into stealth mode, which is a big part of it.
Yeah, and there's new mechanics like Daryl's talking about, but when we look at our environments, like they are a character in the game.
Yeah.
That's like if you think of Yamatai or you think of Syria or Siberia and Rise of the Tomb Raider, now we're taking Lara to the jungle, which is the most unforgiving, brutal, darkest place Lara has ever been, where literally everything in there is like can pretty much kill you.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we're taking Lara through these tombs, right?
Yeah.
And these tombs are inspired by a lot of Mayan myth, where in Rise of the Tomb Raider, they're very biblical. They have these golden domes with God rays coming through the ceiling. Where in Shadow now, we're flipping that upside down. We're taking Lara subterranean. We're taking her into these places that are borderline terrifying. It's a culture that that celebrated fear and human sacrifice. And so it's about making the player and Lara feel almost like kind of uncomfortable, where we have these really strong puzzles where physics are a star. We like to use a lot of natural elements like water, wind, earth, and fire. And I can just promise you the puzzles are deadlier than ever.
Yeah.
And the jungle is the perfect setting to push Lara to the next level, and that way you will see a Lara that you never saw before.
Okay. What can we expect for Lara in game terms in your personality? The personality of Lara.
Personality of her?
Yeah.
Like I said before, this is kind of the climax of the trilogy. This is where she is going to experience her defining moment. So the Lara Croft in Shadow of the Tomb Raider is much more driven and kind of capable, and she has this entity, Trinity, that she knows has killed her father and is a danger to the world. So she's really, really proactive in hunting them down. What's great about this is, we've said it quite a few times tonight about this, there's a duality in Lara in this game, which is wonderful, is that you see that driven character and you see that kind of, that person who has a drive to find out answers, which sometimes borderlines on almost obsession. And then we have her paired with like her oldest friend, Jonah, who's there to kind of, he can tell her, you're going a bit too far. And then we also have another side of Lara, which you didn't get to see it tonight, but I can't wait for you guys for September 14th so you guys can see that. We have this other side of Lara where she actually does think about what she's doing, and is she maybe becoming the thing that she's trying to stop? So in our story, this is really nice. Like you have a kind of very deep many deep character moments with Lara, and you have this hero that has flaws, and is trying to come to grips with who does she want to be? What type of Tomb Raider does she want to be?
Okay, thanks.
But I mean, that decision is also affecting the other side of the game, right? I mean, with what we just played, we could see that Trinity has like this other side. I mean, in the demo, you can see that these guys are also thinking about saving the world. And,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the tables are turning.
Yeah,
somewhat.
what's interesting is, and I'm glad you pointed that out, is that this drive of Lara, or this need of Lara to kind of find out more about Trinity or to even stop them, actually pushes her to a moment that you saw in the demo where she actually makes a mistake. She needs to get this instead of Trinity, and what's interesting is we have some really great characters that we can't talk about all of them in the game, but you saw Dr. Dominguez there, who is her opponent in that moment, and he's the one who actually points out to her that you made the wrong decision here. You've actually started something that now he is gonna have to fix. So we love this. We love flipping kind of that on its head, where, there's a lot of stories where good is good and bad is bad, but we're trying to we are graying that line, right? We have a hero that's flawed, which I think is wonderful.
When you plan the whole history of the saga, how do you involve the Trinity in 3 different scenarios? First one in the Tomb Raider, then in the Rise of Tomb Raider, and now in Shadow in the Tomb Raider. How do you create this master plan?
Well, it's not easy, and it's thankfully we have extremely talented storytellers at both Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, and it was something that we hinted in Tomb Raider 2013. If you were one of the hardcore fans and picked up all I think it was like the GPSs that kind of alluded to this secret organization, which we allowed to get us more deeper into in Rise of the Tomb Raider, and tell this backstory about Lara's father and her interactions with Trinity, and now with Shadow of the Tomb Raider allows us to go even deeper into this kind of hidden world. And I don't want to get into spoiler territories, but there's lots of cool twists and turns that go throughout the way in Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yes, I want to know how was the process of the research for the game, because at the beginning of the demo it says that you had cultural consultants and historical historians maybe.
Yeah.
I ask you this because when I play the demo, I perceive some kind of a strange mix between Aztec and Mayan and other elements of many of the pre-Columbian cultures in the game. How was that process of researching for the game?
It's a process that we take very seriously, and we consult historians, and we work with cultural experts throughout the process. And one of the greatest things about video game development is the process of iteration, right? And as we go throughout the development process, we get outsiders' opinions to make sure that we are being, culturally sensitive to certain things. But like I was talking about, when we do our fact-based fiction, we look at different ways of different stories of these what ifs. What if these two cultures combined? And so it just allows us to tell very unique and new and fresh stories when we take these two myths and we kind of blend them together.
Yeah, it's what is kind of fun creatively in a way is that to take these, because there's a lot of cultures that have very similar myths, right? And to take these two and do a what if situation of like, oh my God, what if these two things are connected? And what's great about that is then with Lara being such an iconic character, she is the one who has that breakthrough, right? That's where kind of the fiction comes in, but it's great because she's such an iconic character, and she's brilliant as an archaeologist. So that's where we try to spin a fictional thread that's a little bit beyond realism. That's where we bend realism.
It's still a fictional piece of art.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an Xbox build. Do you have plans, or this video game is going to be available on 4K or obviously on HDR? And also, this is the same graphics engine than the last one. This video game have improvements in this graphics engine?
This demo is HDR 4K, and we are using the same engine than the previous game, but we are of course cranking up the everything related to the graphics. So yeah, same engine as before, but we are doing a lot of R&D to make sure that we can exploit as much as we can all the platforms that we will ship. So Xbox, PS4, and PC.
Well, what was the major challenge of bringing Lara to a new generation of gamers?
Well, what's really fun for me, and it's something that is great, is that when you look at, and I played the classic games. I grew up playing video games. I never thought in a million years I'd actually work in video games, but here I am today. When you look at the franchise and the pillars of the franchise, they haven't changed since the original. So we look at puzzle solving and combat and traversal. It's the same thing that we're doing today. It's just how we're representing them, how we're kind of balancing those pillars, and now we're pushing it all through a survival lens. And so it is a very comparable experience, but now it's just more modern, fresh, and relatable.
And same thing with emotion. It's trans-generation, so we want to push the emotion. Emotion is king in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So for us, it's like even the newcomers, they will relate to that.
And to, I guess, finish on that is like, she, our Lara Croft is human. She has flaws, she makes mistakes, but she has, determination and drive. I think everybody can relate to that, the struggle. Okay?
Thank you.
This is a question about the development. How hard is to work 3 big companies together in the same title? I mean, Eidos Montreal, Crystal Dynamics, and Square Enix, everyone wants to have a voice in the title, but how hard is to accomplish this?
In fact, it's I came Eidos Montreal recently, and working with Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal together is a blast. There's no difficulty. We are working together, and also people from Eidos Montreal worked on the previous games too, so they know the brand. So it's something that is pretty efficient.
It makes it flow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Tomb Raider franchise is in Eidos Montreal's DNA as well, so it really is a great partnership.
Thank you.
Are there going to be microtransactions in the game?
No, there's no plan.
No plans for microtransactions.
What's that? Okay, another question. Swimming and rappel are 2 big new mechanics on the game. How this changed the level design?
Well, it changed a lot because it gives more opportunities for the players to explore.
Yeah.
So in terms of traversal, being able to rappel down or wall run, we needed to think about, okay, what kind of opportunity it will bring into the level design of the game. Yeah.
So there are Mexicans working on the story in this video game?
Yes, actually. I mean, working on the story, we have, I guess, a partnership for recording. I'm the performance director, so we partnered with a company in Mexico for a lot of voice acting.
Okay, so in particular, are you working with specialists?
Well, we have we alluded to it before that we have kind of historians and stuff like that work for us. We also have for the Mayan component and stuff like that, we have an actual linguist and based in Mexico that's working with our Mexican team to translate everything, certain things from English to Mayan and stuff like that. So we consult with them all the time.
There are a new feature inspired by the gamers' feedback.
New features inspired by, well, I mean, I think the tombs are
Tombs,
the way.
if you look at swimming, for example.
The swimming, for sure.
Swimming is something very nostalgic to the franchise.
Yeah.
And in Rise of the Tomb Raider, we kind of alluded to it. Lara can go underwater, but she never had full 360-degree exploration.
Yeah.
But it's something the fans have always I want to swim. I want to swim. Like, all right, you want to swim? We'll let you swim. But we'll take you on our version of swimming when it means survival, right? And that's when you can see Lara going at the very beginning, it's this very open space, and you're like, oh yeah, it's so pretty down here, and you keep going, and it's like, Where's the next pocket of air? All right, okay, I got the pocket of air. Okay, what's good?
What's that on my leg? Oh no!
And then it's about claustrophobia. This idea of like these, these C notes. We took inspiration from like the Nat Geo Discovery videos where you have these scuba divers who are literally like, taking off their scuba gear to like squeeze through these areas and like pull it in behind them. It's like we take that and we want the player to feel claustrophobic in these spaces.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Guys, you're creating a new model for girl power, all the gamer world. How do you feel about it?
Look, I couldn't be more excited, honestly. I have a young son and a daughter. Although they're not gonna maybe play this, they're a bit young for that now, but what I do love is, I guess, I don't necessarily think gender per se, I just think Lara Croft is such an iconic character. She's strong, determined, has flaws or whatever. I think just as a hero in general, she's wonderful. So I'm super excited to work on Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
She's conveying really strong value, like perseverance, and so anybody can relate to that.
What I love about Lara too is that when you look at her as a character, she's a classically trained archaeologist. She's extremely intelligent, right? Yeah. She's also extremely athletic, right? But the third thing that really separates her is her drive and her will, and that's what enables her to go places and find things that no one else can.
Could, yeah.
And that's something that I can kind of relate with as well. Is like if I just keep going, then I'm able to do it. So it's just one of those things that I think is really humanistic about Lara as a character.
Yeah.
And in this game, we can feel that knowledge from Lara. I mean, they have two past styles, and she obviously learned about it. And we feel that knowledge.
Yeah, we didn't really get into it much. You saw one of the slides about the living history. This is a huge part of our game as well, which we'll expand on at a later date. But this is where you're going to see even another side of Lara, where she's going to interact with culture and society, and not necessarily from the I need to get ahead or I need to be Trinity. This is going to be a moment where she can be the archaeologist. Yeah.
I want another question. The past two games, the general structure of the game was like you have open areas, you can make backtracking, and is this game going to follow the same path?
Yeah, we'll keep the same structure.
Because the demo was more linear. Many of the environment was full of destruction.
And that was intentional because what you played is near the very beginning of the game, that's why there were tutorials. We're trying to give the player different flavors of what they're going to experience throughout the game, but later on in the game, we still leverage the hub system that we have in previous games. In our hub, the biggest hub that we have in Shadow of the Tomb Raider is 3 times bigger than the biggest hub that we had in Rise of the Tomb Raider. Yeah. So we're talking about a huge space for our players to explore, and then you can expect the things that you did in Rise and more in this. And again, like Daryl was saying, we'll talk more about the details inside that space at a later time, but
it's exciting.
It's exciting, and players are going to have a lot of fun there.
Okay, thank you.
So, do you have plans to make some kind of DLC on VR also as the last Tomb Raider?
Right now, our focus is on the core game right now, and we've already announced that we're going to have Challenge Tomb DLC. So we asked our fans, like, what do you want? You ask, do you listen to our fans? Our fans are like, I want more tombs and I want some co-op. And we're like, all right, let's do that together. So for all of our DLC, it's going to be Challenge Tombs, and players will be able to do them in co-op if they wish to. So it allows 2 friends to raid a tomb at the same time, which I can't wait for people to play.
Yeah.
How big this world will be?
Sorry?
How big this world will be?
The world?
The game?
Or this game?
Yeah, the game length is comparable to Rise of the Tomb Raider, but again, if you're one of those completionists and want to go find every nook and cranny, the Tomb Raider, it's there.
Yeah,
so.
And like you said, the hub is like 3 times bigger than our biggest hub is 3 times bigger than the previous one in Rise.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're that completionist, you'll be busy for a while.
Yeah.
Talking about the world, how many gameplay hours will we have?
Yeah,
same thing as around the same thing as Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah. For the main,
Yeah.
Okay.
Another one?
Yeah.
Can I? Okay. The tombs in the last game was like an optional awesome puzzle. In this time is it's mandatory to complete the tombs, or there are optional?
The tombs are still optional.
It's still optional?
But,
Okay.
but the thing is, we will advertise those tombs
Yeah.
because we are investing a lot in those tombs, and we think they are great. So we'll make sure that the players just desire
running
to
across
go.
them.
We have great alpha path tunnels, so that means that you have, alpha path tombs. So you have to complete those tombs to beat the game.
Yeah.
But what we love about our challenge tombs is that it allows us to increase the difficulty because they're optional.
Yeah.
So it allows those players that like the more complex puzzles, and it's a great place for them. And now with the third game, we can take all those kind of puzzle tools that we used in Tomb Raider 9 and Tomb Raider 10, take those learnings and the new gameplay mechanics that we have now in the game. So when players get in there, they're going to be like, "Whoa, what is this?" It's pretty fun. We've been having some great results from our play testing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you guys
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks, guys.